Welcome back to Buford Pusser, the other story. I realized I said that I was not going to be making a video for 3 weeks or so, but I changed my mind just for one purpose and for one person. Mike Bryant. Mike, you should be very embarrassed about your last video that you put out about me. You know, first of all, you say that I'm your biggest fan. Well, let's get something straight, Mike. I am far from your biggest fan. You have a fat head for even believing that. That's just propaganda that you put out there for the masses to believe. Now, you say that you have better things to do than to mess around with me. Well, that's a lie, because then later in your video, you say that you're going to do an entire series about me. Which is it, Mike? Do you not even know? You make no sense. You know, it all started because of one post made by Charlie Stewart. And you said that you didn't know Charlie and you don't know me. Well, let me help you out there, Mike. Charlie and I used to be associates. We used to do research together. And we split ways. Why? Because Charlie was writing a book. And about that time, we found the Hathcock autopsy report as well as the photos of Buford's Plymouth Fury. Now, Charlie said he had his book almost completely written. And with what we found in those two different things, he said he wasn't going to go back and change anything, that it would be too much work. Well, I'm sorry. Charlie was lazy. He didn't want to get things right. He just wanted to take a shortcut. And he told me that if I couldn't go with that, then we didn't need to speak anymore. So that's about the case. Of course, you didn't bother to check any of this. You don't know. And that's the way you do things, Mike. You take shortcuts just like Charlie did. Let me help you out with something else, Mike. Charlie lied when he said I called continuously, making harassing phone calls to him after his accident. That is so untrue. Why would I do that? Did you check into that, Mike, or did you just take Charlie's word because it agrees with your agenda? Seems like it, Mike. Pathetic. I've worked on this investigation for 25 years. And you're a latecomer to the game, Mike. And I know it is insulting for me to say that to you, but it's a fact. No one ever heard of you until the investigation was over. And then you pop up and you take the lazy way out of everything, Mike. That's what people like you do. You don't do any research. You don't do any part of the investigation. You haven't brought anything to us. The easiest thing in the world to do is critique the work that somebody else has done. And when you do that, you make a massive amount of assumptions and you develop opinions based on good Lord knows what. And then you put it out to your people as fact when it is far from it, Mike. You, like I said, you should really be embarrassed about what you do. I mean, you made the statement that there's the two of us and only one of us have been an investigator. Well, Mike, does your work show that you've done any investigation? I would say that there's two of us here and there's only one investigator, and it's certainly not you. You're a critiquer. You just look at somebody else's work and go from there. Anybody can do that, Mike, especially when all they have to do is give an opinion, and it doesn't even have to be right. And most of the time with yours, Mike, it's far from being right. So, you know, you also indicated that I was afraid to debate Robert Broughton. Well, Mike, Robert's a lot like you. He hasn't done any real research. I say that because what he's developed is far from what the experts that were involved in this case came up with. And when I say experts, I'm talking about the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the forensic scientists that worked on it, the reconstruction specialists that were out there and doing things, trying to determine what was what. Has Robert done any of that? Heck no. Robert just writes fictional novels. And he also makes videos and memes. You say that I have a nasty side. Have you ever looked at you and Robert? Both of you have nasty sides. I mean, Robert has even started a Facebook page, Elam's Fallacies. And basically all that is a collection of his memes and AI generated videos. There's nothing to it other than that. So who has a nasty side, Mike? Why are you defending Robert? If he was doing those things to you, would you put up with it? Would you tolerate it? Would you not say a word? Mike, if you can answer that honestly, I've got to ask you, why haven't you been criticizing Robert Broughton for doing that? It's because you have an agenda, Mike. And again, you should be embarrassed about that agenda, because when you can't destroy the message, you go after the messenger. That's all you, Broughton, and William Harmoning are doing. You can't change what the TBI, all the people that worked on the investigation, Mark Davidson, the district attorney general, concluded. You can't change that, so you're going after me. I'm not that big of a deal. People like you want to endorse the idea that I was never in law enforcement. You've got a shock coming up for you, all of you. So you can just sit back, worry about it, and watch, because we're going to get some things straight on that. Now, no, I was not an investigator, although Sheriff Andy Lee did ask me to join the criminal investigation division. But I was going back to the private sector because there's more money to be made out there, and I had a family I had to support and 2 boys I needed to send to college, and I couldn't do it on a deputy salary. So somehow you don't seem to understand that, see that, or better yet, you don't want to understand it. Why? Again, because you have an agenda of destroying people that disagree with you. And why do we disagree with you? It's because you don't operate with facts. So, as far as Broughton, and you say I'm fearful of debating him, let me set the stage straight for you, Mike. Why should I give that man an audience? After what he has done with all his childish, immature, silly memes and AI videos, do you think that I would want to debate such a guy? All he's going to do is try to sell his book. And why would I want to help him with that? Because it'll be another fictional tune, just like the books that he has written, or several of the books that he has written. For instance, you don't take into consideration all the work that the TBI did to investigate everyone that may have been behind Pauline's murder. I mean, they looked at McDonald, at Sparks, Epps, Kirksey Nix, Towhead White, W.O. Hathcock, Howard Bunch. But what does Broughton do? He writes books where it sounds like that he is actually sitting at a table as W.O. Hathcock and Howard Bunch are making plans to murder Buford Pusser. He writes in such a way that you would think, because he puts these things in quotation marks, basically, that he was in the car as they were pursuing Buford. Now, how does that sound factual, Mike? You claim to be the investigator, but yet I haven't. Why don't you investigate that? Why don't you talk to Robert Broughton and investigate what he has done? And then when you get finished with that, why don't you go investigate William Harmoning? It took forever. It was like pulling teeth to get him to finally admit that he did not act as an expert witness for the criminal prosecution case against George Floyd, Michael Brown. Finally, he gets backed into a corner and he has to say, well, those were civil cases. Mike, do you understand the difference between a civil case and a criminal case? Civil case has a much lower threshold to prove anything. Now, it would have been nice if Mr. Harmoning, rather than imply that he had been an expert witness, he didn't say he was, but he implied it. You know, he talks about being an expert witness in lots of major cases, so on and so forth. But yet, he failed to tell us that it was on the civil side, not the criminal side, where he was just in a case where one person was trying to sue over the deaths of those individuals, and most people don't know about those cases. It's one of those things where in the Michael Brown case, there weren't any charges filed against the officer that shot and killed Michael Brown. The family just wanted to sue the police department, and such as that. But, it's kind of a disgusting way to try and get your name out there, your attention. And that's what you're trying to do, Mike. You're trying to get your name out there as some type of investigator, when I'd like for you to list everything that you've done, as just like I have. I've been over to McNairy County. I've visited with people. I've found witnesses. Finally got contacted about the rifle or the carbine that possibly was used to kill Pauline. Have you done anything like that, Mike? No, you went to a book signing so that you could meet Robert Broughton. And then you want to criticize me? Whew. I don't know what to think about people like you. Again, you say that you're not going to waste your time on me, and then in the same video, you say that you're going to do an entire series on me. What does that say about your honesty? You can't even go 15 minutes without telling a lie. So I hope this gets people's attention, to people like you, Broughton, Harmoning. The TBI worked hard on that case. And all you guys have come out just trying to keep Buford Pusser a hero, even though he made 2 statements and proved that he lied when he was on trial for assaulting and robbing W.O. Hathcock. When they interviewed him one time, he's saying, yeah, he did come down and he did beat up W.O. Hathcock. And this was after he had testified in court and pled not guilty. Now, why would he tell the TBI later that, yeah, he did that? I don't know. People see a movie, they want to believe it. And you're one of those people, Mike. You saw Buford Pusser as a hero, and that's what you want to maintain him to be. And you'll go after anyone that doesn't agree with you. And that's your nasty side, Mike. And it is a really nasty side. I mean, who makes a series of videos about another person? Unless they've got a nasty side, because you don't have any facts. You're bizarre. At any rate, it's just one of those things where I don't understand why that you can back a man like Robert Broughton when he is producing a entire Facebook page dedicated to me, calling it my fallacies, but yet he doesn't point out any fallacies. He just makes fun of me because he doesn't have anything else. And you support him, Mike. Again, you should be embarrassed. You claim to be the professional here, and you're far from it. So, whenever you get ready to put out something, I'm going to counter it, and I'm going to come back hard. It's not going to be my nasty side, as you say. It's just going to be facts, something that you don't deal with. So at any rate, Mike, I'll end it for now, and just say, keep in mind that I am far from being your biggest fan. I just find you to be a very hateful, hate-filled individual that has an agenda. We'll end it with that for now. I'm going to tell you something about Robert that you may not enjoy. Robert wanted to be on the program with me on the Mike Weatherford show when he found out I was going to be there. And so he apparently approached them, I'm guessing. And let me make that clear. I don't know for sure, but I was asked about doing a debate with Robert. I have no interest in that, and here is the reason why. All Robert wants to do is get an audience. And after him putting up memes and telling lies, why should I afford him an audience on a program that I'm going to be on? All he's going to do is try and sell his book. That's it. And you don't seem to get that, and you defend it. Shame on you, Mike. Mike, you and others say that the TBI used my book as a roadmap in their investigation. Well, let me state this. I believe that they probably read just about every book they could find about Buford Pusser, and they visited just about every site on Facebook that they could find about Buford Pusser. And they recognized a number of those books for what they were. Do you think that they would follow Robert Broughton's books or anything that you have to say in an investigation about a murder case? What was there? You know, they'd be chasing after W.O. Hathcock, Howard Bunch, and others if that were the case. But they were smart enough to know that, whoa, there's nothing there. That's a hollow story. So if you want to believe that they used my book as a roadmap, there was a lot of it they probably did use, did look at, and thought, you know, we need to examine that. And when they did, what did they find, Mike? They found out that I was right. That upsets you. And so your nasty side comes out.